Greetings, this is Sesheta Khepra, the Intimacy Junkie, and this is a unorthodox method for this episode of SoulShare. I'm not in the studio. I was trying to get to the studio, but the taxi that I called got into an accident and it didn't arrive after I was standing out there for some time and, trying to reach them. And after several attempts, I was finally able to get through. I was walking up the block because, the map showed that they were a couple of blocks away. And come to find out, they were in a car accident. And so, while I'm just waiting and trying to figure out and trying to get to the studio on time, I started to get really, really anxious. And so now, I tried to contact my husband and, he walked me up the block and, by this time, and I'm just trying to figure out, gotta get to the studio, and I'm like in full panic mode. And, so I'm there, it's like, tears is running down my face and, snot coming out of my nose. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't, believe that this is, actually happening, because today's topic is supposed to be mental and emotional health, and here I am, just completely, having an anxiety attack. It's like, it's just so ironic. But anyway, and I contacted the studio to let them know what was going on, and they asked me if I wanted to push it back and everything, and like, I'm just in the middle of the anxiety. But you know what? I decided that, maybe I should, record right now while I'm in the middle of all of this, so that people could, understand the importance of this topic, instead of trying to get to the studio. Maybe I'll just, do my own recording from home so that people can really see what's happening. And I've been trying to do this topic for quite some time, and I had to cancel the previous recording. But mental and emotional health in our community is so very important, and we're not having these conversations that we need to have in regards to it. And I've had my own struggle. I'm in my own journey as far as my mental and emotional health. From the time I was 16 years old, I've been battling. I don't want to use the word battle. I've been dealing with depression from a suicide attempt when I was 16 years old, 16 or 15 years old, in high school. That was as a result of a lot of bullying that I received, throughout my school years. And hold on, I'm about to take a sip. And this is also needs to be part of the conversation, is how sometimes we self-medicate to deal with our mental and emotional health. So I'm being real about it by actually putting this on camera, because it's while all of this was going on, it's like, oh my God, I had to come in, have a glass of wine. And that's one of the ways that I deal, and it's not the healthiest way, and it's actually, totally unhealthy, to deal with it that way. And that's one of the things and one of the issues that we have in our community when it comes to dealing with our mental and emotional health, is substance abuse. So my substance, that I'm not really proud of, is alcohol. Now, so that's a glass of white wine. And prior to that, I used to drink harder alcohol. But then that became problematic, and I almost did a whole stint in rehab, you know regarding that. And what happened was, I went through the whole entire intake process. And then come to find out, because, I wasn't an outpatient, I didn't have enough outpatient treatment. They wouldn't take me as an inpatient for a 30-day facility, and my insurance wouldn't cover it. So I didn't wind up doing that. And I didn't like the outpatient treatment, because the element that I was amongst, I just didn't like it. It was a lot of people who were court mandated, and it was like, I just didn't feel comfortable with that program. And so what I tried to do is deal with it on my own. And so instead of doing the hard alcohol, I just reduced it, and I stopped drinking for about a month or two. And then it was like I couldn't really, I wind up moving from the hard alcohol, and then I started smoking, weed, which I shouldn't even say on camera, because my job does random drug tests. And so it would be like, on vacations or long weekends. And, and I just took the chance. And, when I really needed to just, indulge with the weed smoking. And it was just like, okay, well, if I get caught, I'll get caught. They'll give me a couple of chances. They'll send me out to what they call the farm, and, put me through their own rehab program. And you know what I mean? So I'll just take my chances with the weed. And then it was just like, okay, I can't do this. So, let me go back to the alcohol. But instead of the hard alcohol, which my choice was vodka, because I have migraines, and, I can't deal with the other alcohol, because that triggers my migraines. So vodka is the only thing that I could drink that doesn't trigger my migraines. So that's what I was drinking. But now it's just like, okay, now I just do wine and beer. But anyway, enough of the alcohol talk. And it's just that there has to be a better way. I started therapy when I was 16 years old, because, like I said, from the suicide attempt. Then I wind up in the hospital, and they did the psychiatric evaluation. So yes, I was in Kings County in the G building, and I had the evaluate people talking to me. Oh, do you hear voices in your head? And it's like, no, I don't hear voices in my head and none of that stuff. I was just depressed because I was tired of being bullied. I've been bullied from the time I was 5 years old in kindergarten, and it was just, a lot, and I couldn't manage it. So I started therapy. And then, of course, now we get to the medication. So now I'm in therapy, and, as a young lady, maybe by the time I was about 19, I would say, then they want to prescribe me some antidepressants. I was going to therapy once a week, but I wasn't taking it seriously because I was young and I was immature. And they tried prescribing me Zoloft. That was what they prescribed me. And so I was going to first a therapist, a CSW, and of course they can't provide medication. So then I went to a psychiatrist, and, she sent me there, and of course they took a few notes and, diagnosed me, and, this white man, and he's there, and as I'm talking to him, and he's scribbling these notes, and I'm just like, he's not even hearing me. He's not even, it's like, you just know that it's just like what it's going to result in. It's like, no matter what you say, how you say it, they're just going to prescribe me some medication, because that's what his job is to do. And it was just like, and I just knew. So they prescribed me the medication, and, I took it. But of course, with those medications come side effects. Now, the biggest side effect that I took issue with was the sexual side effects, which it wasn't. I lost all my sex drive was gone. My ability to have orgasm. Now, I'm a young lady, like I said, maybe late teens, early 20s. And this is when this happened. And I'm just like, I got, I need to be able to enjoy sex, and it just wasn't happening. And they told me, the psychiatrist told me, like, oh, like these, these are the side effects. And, normally what people do is like if they have a little special vacation planned, and, they're going away with their spouse, and, they'll stop taking the pills for a couple of days so that they can have their little romance. And I'm sitting here just like as a young child, I'm like, I don't have a spouse and I don't have planned vacations where we're going away and have romantic evenings. That's not what we do. 19, 20, 21 years is when you want to be ready, you want to be ready. And then, I'm taking this, and even masturbation, I couldn't even orgasm from masturbation. And I was just like, this has got, like, no. I refused to take the medication at that point. And then it was just like, you know what? I have to do more work. So I went into my therapist and I said, I'm not taking the medication anymore. I want to come to therapy twice a week instead of one time a week, because I need to do something other than taking this medication. And from that point on, going forward, it was just like I came in twice a week, committed to not having to take this medication and to do more work in therapy. So I had a therapist from the time I was from the ages of 16 to about 33. And I'm 44 years old. And since then I've also, I went back on and off, but then I started to, I guess, become more spiritual. And now with the treatment, I started to incorporate, my spirituality and lean more towards that. And I think, within our community, a lot of times it's either one or the other, where it's, because we're religious, we tend to not believe that we need therapy. It's like, oh, just give it over to Jesus, it's Jesus, let Jesus take the wheel, and, and all that other stuff. But, whatever, and this is not a knock to any particular religion or any, level of spirituality, but that is no replacement for addressing your spiritual health and your spiritual needs. So they should work hand in hand. So when we start to seek out our, the mental health professionals and the emotional health professionals, that should also be part of the questions that we ask when, when we're doing our research. We should look that are culturally conscious, mental health care providers who are culturally conscious. So we should ask these questions. Are you used to treating African American clients if they're not an African American healthcare provider? Do you have experience with treating African Americans? How can you incorporate, my cultural beliefs, my spiritual beliefs, into my treatment? These are the things that, we should be asking and shouldn't be afraid to ask when we're seeking treatment. And, but of course, my provider, wasn't African American or isn't African American, because I still have the ability to go to her, if need be. I haven't been, to therapy in a session in a long time, but if I felt the need, like I got overwhelmed, I would go back, or I could go back, but now I engage in other practices that, I do not necessarily go back. But if I felt the need, I needed to talk to somebody, I would go back because of the history that I have with her. And, she's not an African, American provider, at all. So, but, when we're choosing to get our care, we shouldn't be ashamed to specifically seek out providers of color. You don't feel away. And if maybe there's none within your area that in your area that you feel comfortable with, or at all, because there aren't that many healthcare providers or emotional and mental health care providers of color. So if you find yourself where you have to select from, non-people of color, ask the questions if they have other clients that are people of color, and are they prepared to deal with that? Because let's be real. Our needs are completely and totally different. And even though that we're not aware, and a lot of us don't think that we have issues with mental health, we do. Just being people of color in America, we have, and we all have, PTSD, because we're living in a racist society. A lot of us are in communities where there's a lot of violence and a lot of poverty and a lot of homelessness, and all of these things are contributors to, the decline of our mental health. Even in our workplace, we we're the first African American or person of color, if we're the first African American woman, so we're that double whammy. That's a level of pressure that we have to deal with, and that contributes to social anxiety. When you have to, when you're the first African American, when you're the first African American woman, and we have to be honest about those pressures, and we can't just think that, oh well, that what we call the black tax. We laugh at these things, and these things are real, and these things contribute to the decline of our mental and our emotional health. And we just think that they're par for the course, and when in actuality it shouldn't be, and they're not beneficial in any way, shape, or form anyway. And we need to pay attention to that. And there's things that are specific to Black males and things that are specific to, Black women that we really need to pay attention. And there are signs that even if you feel that it doesn't necessarily affect you, or you don't have the experience, you have to be your brother's and your sister's keeper to make sure that you are able to recognize whether your brother or whether your sister is in crisis. Because a lot of times we have these friends, and on my last show where we discussed that being your brothers and sisters keepers, and we are surrounded, by our friends, and we don't even know what they're going through. We have to be able to recognize when our brothers and sisters are in crisis, so that we can step up to the plate and be of assistance to them. And I'm also going to get into a lot of, statistics and, material and warning signs and things that, we can look out for, when it comes to ourselves and as, the people in our lives, so that we can stay on top, because we're the change, and we're not dealing with this in the way that we should be dealing with this. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little pause right now, and I'm gonna get my material, and we're going to get into the stats and what to look out for.